Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and have ourselves a drink.
All right, and with that, we are back in the lobby bar for the week of April the 6th, 2026. Brian and Michaela with you. And Michaela, you are getting ready to set off on spring break. So we're recording this early. I believe you are going to our nation's capital. So that's good. So, A, have you ever been? What was your favorite thing in DC? And what are you looking forward to seeing this time? Putting you on the spot.
Yes, I have been a few times. I have been a few times, and my favorite thing is really hard. For anybody that's never been and doesn't really know how DC works, it is a really economical trip for families. I wouldn't recommend it for really young kids because there's a lot of walking, but there's so much stuff that is already paid for by your tax dollars in this country. So, like the zoo is free, and the zoo is amazing. All the museums are free that are run by the Smithsonian because your tax dollars already pay for it. Now you can donate extra money, and I always recommend that you do, because that's great. Museums are important. We're worried about them all going away. So, but my favorite thing, I think. That's really hard. It's weird to say that you liked that I liked the Holocaust Museum best. That
Yeah.
doesn't really, but I found that museum to be very moving. And it's one of those things, it's not, it's a total downer, and but it's so
Mhm.
educational. And I learned things that I did not learn at all in school, and it's presented in such a heartfelt, a heartfelt way,
Mhm.
that really tells a very, I think, kind of a story not only of what happens to like the Jewish people in that time, but also what was happening to the Europeans that were not Jewish, and like how that whole thing came about because it wasn't done overnight. I think sometimes, yeah, we think that it was, and it took like 10 or 15 years to kind of get to that place. And so, and I think that's really important. Um, but it is real tough. It's a somber day. It's not fun, but I thought it was really important. It's
Mhm.
probably why I like all these really hard movies that everybody's like, man, this is painful. And I'm like, yeah, but it's really important to watch. So I'm gonna say that. And what am I looking forward to the most? You know, my kid has never been, and I am really excited to show them the Space and Flight Museum, or the
Okay.
Air and
Yeah. Yeah.
Space Museum.
The Air and Space Museum. Yeah.
That is super cool. It's probably my second favorite thing there. It's really cool. You get to see all this really neat, like you get to see like the Wright brothers plane, like the original, one of the original ones that's all set up, and that's really cool. Um, it's really cool. I mean, I really like that, and it's huge. It like the history museum is amazing, but that takes days to go through. So you got to be, we're just gonna go look at all the dinosaurs for you, Brian.
There you go.
Take
No,
a
I
bunch of
appreciate
pictures.
that. They used to have an X-wing, I think, at the Air and Space Museum. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. If you check that out, get some astronaut ice cream. To eat because
Mm.
it's delicious and fun. But also, I guess, to celebrate Artemis, right? Took off, I think, yesterday as of this recording. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So that's good. That's good. If you're a member of our Patreon, patreon.com/drink the movies, Michaela is probably going to take a copious amount of cocktails that she may enjoy in her time in DC. So we'll have a lot to talk about on our hangout coming out later this month. So again, yeah, check out that Patreon. But since we're recording this early, we don't really have much in the way of like box office news and stuff to talk about. Spoiler warning, Mario wins the weekend. There you go. But I thought we could do a Lobby Bar classic right here because I think we have one more. I think we've done like all of the original of the like six classic cocktails. So today we're going to be talking about the Jack Rose. Michaela, have you ever heard of the Jack Rose?
I don't think I have. I actually, when we first
Other than
talked
it's been
about
on our
this,
notes for like 4 months. So,
right, but when I saw it at first, I was like, wait a minute, what didn't we cover this with the Titanic? But we didn't. We actually didn't because we did an actual drink that was served on the Titanic, and this was not it. But it's kind of funny because it's called a Jack Rose, and Titanic had Jack and Rose. But no, and if I would never have guessed the ingredients, which is silly because it's kind of in the name. But yeah,
mm. Yeah.
Let's tell everybody about it.
That's right. And quick aside, you know who did think of doing a Jack Rose for Titanic? That is none other than friend of the pod, Cinema Sips. So there you go. So the Jack Rose classic cocktail, it gets its first mention in 1905, which is pretty old, right? That's like 121 years old. Happy birthday to the Jack Rose cocktail. And then it starts to like amp up in notoriety kind of in the 19 like teens, 1920s, until eventually gentleman by the name of Ernest Hemingway puts it in his novel The Sun Also Rises. So the Jack Rose of it all becomes very, very popular. It is an extremely popular, like pre and post Prohibition cocktail, and it sees a lot of love in that sense going forward. We'll talk a little bit about kind of the film tie-ins. There's nothing like super directly, but let's talk about the ingredients here. Into a shaker tin goes 2.5 ounces of applejack, which is just distilled apple. It's like a whiskey, except instead of being made from grain, it's being made from apple. You could also use like a French Calvados, but the Jack Rose is an American fare, so if you can find some applejack, that's what I'd use here. 2.5 ounces of that, 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, and a half an ounce of grenadine. You can, fudge that a little bit if you want more or less, depending on how sweet it is. If you're making like your own, like homemade, like pomegranate simple syrup, you probably want to use a little bit more. If you're using a bottled one, probably a little bit less. That's going to, have a lot more sugar and stuff like that in it. You can garnish it with lemon twist there as you've strained it into like a coupe glass, probably your martini glass. Sip and enjoy. So this is going to be very boozy. 2.5 ounces of the good old Applejack. That seems like a lot. It's also going to be a little bit harsh tasting. I think 3/4 of an ounce of the lemon juice and then half an ounce of the grenadine. So a little sweet. So like most Prohibition era cocktails, this one is a little rough around the edges, so to speak. But I think that's okay. I think that there's something like whimsical about doing these and drinking these. And we've used Applejack a time or two here on the podcast, but not something we dabble in too much. But I'm glad to have this now because I think I still have our bottle of that from the first time we used it. Michaela, are you a fan of Applejack? Just straight up or cocktails? What do you think?
I don't mind it in a cocktail. I agree with you about the Prohibition era kind of cocktails. They don't necessarily taste real great. They are an acquired taste. They're very different than what we would do today if we were just picking a cocktail. They all tend to be real boozy, and I think you're right here. This is going to be real interesting with the apple kind of back flavor, but a lot of lemon juice. The grenadine's going to add that sweetness. So, I mean, this is probably not going to be for everyone, but I think if you like apple brandy, you're going to like Applejack if you've never had Applejack. Um, and yeah, this is I don't know. It's you're right. It's very like nostalgic. All these drinks seem very like you have them in a dark room with like, maybe like one dude on piano in a corner, It's very what's the word? It's very it sets you back, like it takes you back to a very different time and place. And
Mhm.
but we will say here at Drink the Movies, drink this responsibly. This is like a martini almost kind of thing. One or two. I wouldn't recommend more than that because there's a lot of booze in this one.
Yeah, that's right. There is a lot of booze in this one, so you're going to want to go easy on this, but maybe have it while you're watching some like throwback type of stuff. A lot lot of people will include this in like their Mad Men like tasting
Mm.
catalog, even though I don't think we ever see one of these specifically in the show Mad Men. But we see something a little bit closer to it in Boardwalk Empire, which is a television show that I love, probably in my top 10 TV shows. They don't have one specifically either, but that does revolve a lot around bootlegging in the Prohibition era, and a lot of
Mm.
what they're bootlegging is Laird's Applejack. So there you go. That's kind of a good tie in there. And then apparently there's also kind of a sidestep, our French cousin here, Midnight in Paris, 2011's Midnight in Paris. Apparently they're drinking a lot of Calvados-based cocktails and talking about how much they loved like the Hemingway like era, I guess, of
Mm.
the world. So there you go. You can make your own conclusions there. So that is the Jack Rose, Michaela. I think that's going to be a good one. I feel like a Jack Rose would be something special to have while you're in our nation's capital. That seems that seems good.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna make it a mission to go and find an Applejack cocktail at somewhere in DC. So, people listening, if you know where I could find one of those, put it in the comments section because we're gonna be all over the city, and I gotta go find myself a Jack Rose.
Absolutely. Go find yourself a Jack Rose, and you can find our podcast wherever you're listening to this right now. Because last week we did some pretty fun stuff. We did Project Hail Mary last week. That was a really tremendous film. That was a fun conversation about that new film. This week we're going to be talking about an old film, Teenage Mutant Ninja 2, Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze. We're going to be talking about that as something we got to go out and see in the movie theaters. And then next week we're going to be covering the new Super Mario Brothers movies. So let us know down in the comments if you have any favorite Super Mario Brothers memories, who your favorite character is, what your favorite game entry was, what you thought about the movie, because we're going to be doing that as a live episode. So make sure you leave us the feedback. We'll be posting about it here on our social media over the next week to get some feedback there so we could talk about it on the video show, which is available on YouTube and Spotify. So check that out. We appreciate it. Michaela, have an excellent trip to the nation's capital. See all the good sights. Have a good time, and we'll be back next week in the lobby bar.